My name's Luke Kerner, and I'm a partner at a firm called Blockchain Co-Investors. It's a crypto fund of funds. We're invested in 30 of the leading crypto VCs. We also do one-off investments in great companies like Wire, coincidentally. And I'm super excited to be moderating this panel because when I saw the crypto light on June 29th, 2017, what I saw was that for the first time in history, there was this set of tools that could solve for the community instead of the man in the middle. And to me, I thought that that was going to be the biggest thing in the history of humanity. And 4.5 years later, here we are. So this is going to be a great panel, and why don't we each take 30 seconds to introduce ourselves.
Hey everyone, I'm co-founder and CEO of Wire, one of the largest on-ramp providers in the space, and we help companies with their payment infrastructure into NFT platforms and different marketplaces.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is David Cash. I founded Cash Labs, which is an NFT consultancy. I, along with Eric, Eric founded it. I was one of the founding members of NFTS.tip, so quite a large NFT community out of Clubhouse. And then I currently am the editor-in-chief of NFTS.WTF, which is a DAO-run publication founded by Outlier Ventures, another VC in the space. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here and talk about community.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hunter Orrell here, CEO at Futureproof. Oh my God. We're a Web3 media agency putting out content around what's happening in the space, as well as consulting and building out our own IP. Really happy to be here and talk about community today. As you can tell, part of the 3D gang and just a subset of the Bored Ape community. Super pumped for this. Yeah, bring some energy.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Amazing.
My name is Adam. I go by Adam Tastic. I'm a creative director and illustrator, and been spent the last 14 years doing that. But honestly, I'm very passionate about community. Obviously, that's why I'm here. But I see a lot of potential, and I'm just super excited to be on this panel with all these amazing people. So I don't want to take up too much time talking about myself, right? Like, this is about community.
Hey guys, my name is Alan Argollo. I founded Maddies.co. So we're today's largest NFT merch metaverse, and this universe is for all the collections you guys know, Animetas, Hashmask, and a couple hundred others. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Okay, great. So this is a panel on building NFT communities. And what I wanted to start with was actually, what is a community? So when Hunter, you want to start? How would you define community?
I think I would define community as an organic group of people that all share the same value. They have something that brings them together. But I think at the end of the day, when you start to look at what community really is, it's your friends, it's fans, it's people that all are aligning together. And I think that what we're seeing happen with NFTs right now is going to be the foundation and the beginning of the ultimate fan clubs, the ultimate communities, the ultimate the beginning for people where they can find like their base. And that's why it's so special and important to recognize that community is probably one of the biggest and strongest core values of NFTs right now.
And so who wants to build on that? Yanni?
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is a community. Everyone's traveled all over the planet to be here today. And I mean, communities have been built since the dawn of ages, right? And they've been, we've been building communities in galleries. Now we're opening up communities to the online presence and really building that out. And I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to add like a bit of definition. A definition moment per se. I'm paraphrasing something from Matt Medved. I was on a Zoom call with him not that long ago with a bunch of people, and we were talking about the difference between audience and community, and how Web 2, the whole goal was about building an audience, and how can you get people in one place who then can, you can perform tasks with it. But a community is way more immersive. There's way more people involved on a regular basis. They're buying into something that they can be a part of, not just existing within a space. So I think it's a really important distinction to make, and this is very much community.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, one of the biggest things that I think Web 3 is giving us is the difference. So Web 2 set us up, to get here, but it set us up with some toxic natures, right? So like with Web 3, I feel like we have the ability to realize that, like, I hate the word followers because it has, to me, a negative connotation. I feel like we forget that the numbers behind those are people. And in Web3, there's the ability for us to just realize and connect with the people. Because it doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 10,000 followers or even more, it's the deep connections that you can make with those people. And I truly believe that that's what's going to take us to the next step.
Awesome. I wrote mine, so I hope you guys don't mind me reading, because
Go for it, man.
I said 30 seconds. I wanted to be exact. At its core, community really is identity. It's where one can find unique commonalities with other individuals, and that's what makes them unlike anyone else. And that differentiation is where that community is actually born. It's a mashup of expectations, customs, and behaviors that results in an environment where one can belong. And frankly, this is why NFTs are awesome, because it gives a sense of, I belong to that community. Frankly, it's why I started the merch company, where you identify yourself in whichever universe, the metaverse, the real universe, and digital, and Twitter, and everything else. So to me, it's belonging to something.
So, and who do you think does a great job of that and embodies that? What NFT communities?
Well, Bored Apes to me was one of the big ones. I started early on with the hash masks and fell in love with it, but the way Bored Apes came about was it just unraveled everything that we knew about communities, and it created this amazing group of people that, frankly, wild, and they came in all for the wrong and different reasons, and then they found a common place to belong.
I mean, it feels like family, right? Like that's the joy of a community, of a solid community, is that it doesn't feel like followers or friends. It feels like something deeper. It feels like a family connection.
And so who feels like that, to you?
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, that is, when I first got into NFTs, there were friends who would onboard me, and then I would onboard other people. So it's sort of like, for me, there's a group, I'm a co-runner of NFT and Chill, and we were on Clubhouse for a while. Now we're on Twitter. But for me, it's like it's that group of people that we founded that just to get together after the long day of like all the crazy stuff that happens in the space, and just talk about other things and just like get into our lives. And we would talk about what's the best part of your day. Like that was a big thing, because at that point, early on, I saw an opportunity to dive deeper with the people that we're talking to, especially with the audio apps like Clubhouse and now Twitter Spaces, is you can actually have connections with these people that aren't just text on a screen, So I feel like that was really pivotal.
I mean, I think a big part of what we're seeing happen right now is the ability to have like social signaling and identity through NFTs, and to align with what that stands for. I mean, look at it. Before on Twitter, it was your face. I don't know anything about who you are, and that's to know that I can hop in a Twitter space, and if I see that you're a Bored Ape, well, I immediately know kind of what you stand for, what you believe in, who you are. I think that at scale is going to be something that's really wild to watch happen, where we see people that own VFriends, that own Bored Apes, punks, start to really like identify as, hey, this is part of the community I represent. But it'll be interesting. I'm curious, like, do you think that as people join more and more of these communities, as they identify that, does that pull them away from one, or are we entering a very large, multi, like, overlapping community culture?
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting, because Hunter, I know you're part of a lot of DAOs. And I think DAOs are a great representation of how you can be part of multiple communities at the same time. Like for instance, like I ran a production company for 6 years, working freelance for different people. And the differentiation between that and working for a DAO is there's a similarity to it, because it's not like working for a corporation, but there is this community element to it, but at the same time, they're all working towards a common goal. So even in like professional contexts, I think that there's an amazing aspect to these Web3 communities that we're building. It's really, really awesome.
Yeah. And I was just going to mention, I mean, like, you have a lot of like a lot of the public forum communities and on Twitter, but I think it's awesome seeing like it on a micro scale as well, like within organizations. Like, for example, in our organization, we have different communities being formed in micro channels where you're either in the Dope Shiba crew or you're in a different type of crew. But it's incredible to see both in the macro scale on a public setting, but these smaller communities being formed at a micro scale as well, which I think is super fantastic. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I really think, so if you can moderate, I can answer. I can be panelist. I think that, we hear a lot about, obviously, forking. I think we'll see spooning in the future when two communities get together, right?
That was a good word choice, I guess.
I like it.
And I also think that we're going to get not only better tools to manage a community, but better tools to enable communities to work together, right? Because you get 2 communities, 10 communities, 100 communities working together, a community of community. I think that's going to be a huge thing.
Well, I honestly think we're entering a community economy. Like, I think Web 2.0 is won by people who gave a fuck. I very much think that Web 3.0 will be won by people who really give a fuck. And I mean by that is you're going to see the strongest communities blossom out of builders and communities that equally care about the people that are helping build it, as much as the people that are helping build it care about the last person who bought at the highest price, or whatever number you are, that you're part of that community. And if anybody here is building, or you're thinking about building, I urge you that you are valuing every single person in your community the same, and that you're trying to provide as much value to them. That's what's really ultimately being provided by NFTs right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when I use the word community, to me, what a community is, when a community works right, everybody gets more out of it than they give. And that is really magical.
And I think that happens because everybody in that community wants to give, right? I feel like that's a big part of it is you can do so much and you can change so much in this world. Like, there's so much damn money in crypto, and the ability to funnel some of that money not just into your community but other communities outside of those. Like, I feel like that's the next step. And I know there's a lot of philanthropic efforts. I do one as well, but it's sort of like seeing beyond. Like, again, I'm very optimistic on Web 3.0 because of that.
I also think we're seeing a lot of community members being evangelized in a really positive way. When somebody really loves a project and they think they're getting a ton of value out of the project, they become the biggest champion of that project.
Yes.
So you see, like, the Decentraland DAO. Decentraland's doing so well. I mean, obviously, a big uptick after the Meta launch, but at the same time, it's such a strong community, and it's totally decentralized, and they function like a big tech company, even though none of them are in the same place, just because so many people, deeply, deeply care about Decentraland and what they're doing.
Yeah, so building NFT communities. Does anybody want to maybe talk about your favorite, community building hack for people who are trying to build communities?
I mean, for me, it's just, honestly, it comes from a place of transparency and honesty, right? So, and vulnerability. For me, when I'm putting myself out there, I'm not being fake about it. I'm letting people know the good, the bad, and everything in between. And I feel like those are the connections that I appreciate when I find somebody out there. And also, taking the time to engage with everybody is so important. Like, again, getting back to the idea that there are people behind these screens. And I love that we have an audio feature now that helps us remember that. Because if you're putting a tweet out there and then you don't respond, I get you can't respond to everything, but if you try to respond knowing that people give a shit about you, that's where you have that deep connection.
Yeah, one of the things we need to realize too is there's 2 aspects of community. There's the NFT community itself as a whole. Everybody here belongs to that. And then there's all the NFTs within that projects or collections that we also belong to. And one of the main things, the community is really the bloodline of every project. When we talk and try to explain this to anybody, I guarantee you a lot of people tell you, oh, I can draw better than that, right? But it's not about that. And it's like, how come I can just draw something and sell it for $1 million? It's not about that. It's about the community, and the community will either accept you what we've given to them or not. And it's incumbent upon us as individuals to also raise the standard for what the NFT world will be. So there's a lot of responsibilities from an individual perspective of us to, request better protocols, request better roadmaps. I mean, roadmaps was not even a word until a bunch of projects started coming along. Punks didn't have a roadmap. Bored Apes, I don't think, even had a roadmap to begin with. And then the community started to chant that. Where are you guys going with this? What's the point? And I think it's up to us as individuals to raise up and request that, to elevate the standards so we become more welcoming and to have a better platform and foundation to receive others.
I want to say, like, don't get it twisted. Promising people that buy into your project that they're going to make money is not building a community.
Amen.
It's not.
Well, you clap for that. I disagree with you. I think that a lot of the reason, again, it's about getting more out of it than you put in. A lot of the people here are here for the money, and God bless. Come on in. I hope you make as much money as you can.
But I do think those people.
But let me just finish. But if you're building a community and it's only about the money, at some point the money's going to stop. It comes and it goes, and when that goes, look, you were here for the people who were here in the community, in the crypto community in 2017, man, it rocked. Oh my God. And then 18, 19, not so much. And that was fine. The people who were left, they were there for another reason, right? And they stuck around, and that'll happen again. There's going to be another winner, right? We know that for sure. Let's enjoy the bubble while it lasts. And let's welcome, for me personally, the people who are here for the money.
You have to think, I definitely think there's a lot of it with money, but it is this sense of camaraderie and honesty and transparency that's really, really important. And, just take yourself back to the beginning of COVID, and everyone's going back home and trying to find their sense of identity. And then all of a sudden, all these different communities on Twitter pop up, and you start connecting with different people. I think there's a lot to say there in the sense that, a lot of people ended up finding their community, a sense of belonging during this whole period. And I think it's going to, for sure, last for many, many years after that, even outside of the money.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's become a little bit formulaic, but not in a simple way, like community building hacks. I think what we've got, the point that we've gotten to in this space is there's almost this expectation, which is almost a justified expectation now, that any project should almost be like a 360 media company. And we're completely platform agnostic, right? We're not all on Twitter, we're not all on Clubhouse, but we're all in a lot of these places. So I think it's really trying to create a strategy where you can perpetuate your narrative in an engaging way to get people interested in your project, and if they're interested, they're going to champion it. So doing engaging content, creating engaging content, doing regular, consistent programming on Clubhouse, Twitter, Discord, and having places for your community to assemble. You really just have to set up all of these building blocks for best case scenarios. So plan for the best and hope for the best, and hopefully you'll be pretty well off.
And it's wild. I think a lot of places that Gary Vee has done it, Tom Billy has done it. They've made videos, they've told their story, they're explaining the vision. They're really, really giving that emotional roadmap for someone to say, okay, I align with that. I get, I fuck with it. Let's do it. I'm in. I think that's super important. And I totally agree with what you're saying.
Thank you, no, for sure. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with, if you can do one thing for your NFT project, especially if you're well-spoken, just getting on camera and speaking passionately about your project for 30 seconds and sharing that as much as you fucking can is the best thing you can possibly do for yourself. So I totally agree with you.
Sounds like a good hack.
I like emotional roadmap, right? Because that's what people are going to connect to. I like that. That's where, that's where you went with that, because if you're promising people money, it like Lou said, it's going to run out at some point if that's your foundation, right? It might ride for a long time, but it's built on a shaky foundation. But if you go out there and you tell people what you're about, who you are, and why they should care, then you're going to have more people care about what you have to say.
I think the one part about the money, and I don't want to jump into a really deep rabbit hole here because we don't have enough time for that, but I think the one thing about money is that when ultimately there is a pullback or a bear market, you want to have foundational values within what you're building and within your community that will it doesn't matter if there's value to what you're building, like monetarily, the people that are in your community that own your stuff care and they want to be part of it no matter, what the economic situation is.
Right, and
so-
the one thing that I think successful communities will see is that when they combine both worlds. It's when they have the strong community and the money. I mean, don't get me wrong, money is great. I paid for my wife's car with 2 penguins. 2021 is here, so, and let's not discourage anybody from making money. I think it's a great indicative of success. I plan to pay for my kids' future with, penguins and all the zoo that we can afford. But at the same time, I think that when you can unify that and you can have a great experience, also, like, if nobody's selling, that price is going up. And if people are so attached because you've built a strong community, they're going to hold on to that. And I think that the longer that we can build that and we can merge those two, that's when you can get success from outlasting communities that we've seen outlast the bull market and bear market and everything else.
Okay, last question. We only got a couple minutes left. You want to tell the audience about a community maybe they don't know about that they should know about? We'll start at the end.
Okay, cool. I'll start. Hashmass community. I'm a member there. I've loved that project since the beginning. It really was, I think, a kickstart of a lot of projects. It created a name token, name change token. We actually came and were able to name your NFT. So he created a lot of initiatives in the technology space. So I think it was a great kickoff to, even the Bored Apes, I think, quoted them as being one of the inspirations for them. And it kind of got under the radar, and now it's been resurrected and it's pumping up. So check them out.
Okay, terrific. 20 seconds.
You're going to skip me because I'm going to come back to that because I want to give a thoughtful answer because I don't have one off the top of my head.
I'm going to also pull that card. Come back to me. I'll let you go.
Well, I got one. So I love NFTS.tips. I've been part of it for a really long time. Very supportive community and represents a lot of what we talked about today, where the community that you're a part of represents your ideals. And one of those is that NFTS.tips facilitates people kind of starting their own organizations within their organization. So that's allowed me to employ over 60 writers in the space, completely decentralized, in a completely decentralized manner, made various community members over $100,000 just freelance, and also allowed me to start my production company today. So I mean, Tips is awesome.
I'm going to pull one of the cards as well, but I think that today we just launched WenWire NFT platforms, and that's just a little plug there. It's we made a bunch of different NFTs in space, and we're giving them out for free. So if you can just go on OpenSea and get them there.
I'm going to say Knights of Degen. It's a community of people who like to gamble. And that's a real community. And we need help sometimes, so.
I mean, there's so many communities. I mean, it's funny to think about a specific community, but I think more about, there's a lot of artists in this space, and I know that, there's the money, there's the community, there's people who flip, and there's all the different reasons you get into it, but I've found a lot of value in a lot of the individual artist communities. There's a lot of people out there like Stones the Organic. I don't know if anybody knows Stones. There's Black NFT Art is fantastic. Okay. But there's the individual, like finding artists and communities around the artists, I think are really, really awesome.
I'm going to take the cop out here and say, bar a single community, I would encourage all of you to go find a community instead of me telling you one, because I think that's how you do find a community that you do connect with and really, really want to be a part of.